This is a video to show how to use a rubric to evaluate a piece of writing. So let's use this rubric for what does it take to win a war? A 5-paragraph informative essay. Take a look at paragraph 1, the introduction. The two things that they're looking for are an introduction sentence that generally introduces the topic and then progresses to the specific thesis statement, basically giving us all the background we need. And the second thing is a thesis statement. So let's go to the essay and see if this person has got these two things. Let's take a look at Walter Mellon's essay on what does it take to win a war. Some people know what it's like to be in a war, but do they really know what it takes to win one? Between 1775 and 1781, the most significant years of the Revolutionary War, Americans across the 13 colonies were battling for their freedom. Many risked their lives fighting in the war, serving as spies, or rebelling at every chance they could against the British Empire. Mediocre training, lack of money, and poor living conditions were some of the struggles challenging the American army. With the British being the richest country in the world and possessing the finest training and weaponry, the colonies would have to believe not only in their faith, but would need to have faith in their country. To defeat the British, George Washington and his Continental Army needed to have leadership skills, motivation, and lots of resources. So if you remember the two things from the rubric, we needed a general introduction that gave us information about the Revolutionary War and the topic to be discussed. This person did that. They gave us everything we needed to know, all of the background, the setup for the Revolutionary War, and what they're going to talk about in their paper. The second thing on the rubric was their thesis statement. You'll remember that the thesis statement is the last sentence in the introductory paragraph, so let's take a look at this person's thesis. To defeat the British, George Washington and his Continental Army needed to have leadership skills, motivation, and lots of resources. So the thesis is the roadmap for the paper. It'll need to do two things. It needs to answer the question and lay the three things that you're going to talk about in your paper. And it does just that. It answers the question, what does it take to win a war? And it tells you the three things you're going to be talking about in your paper, which is skills, motivation, and resources. Leadership skills, motivation, and resources are the three body paragraphs in this paper. So let's head back to the rubric and assign some points. So we said this person did the introduction. They gave us general information and they had a thesis statement at the end that told us what the paper was going to be about. So let's take a look at paragraph 2, the first body paragraph. This is going to be about leadership. We're looking for a transition in a topic sentence that states the main idea of the paragraph, so something about leadership, and relates it to the thesis statement. Next, we're looking for two examples. These two examples need to come from research. They need to be two sentences to kind of explain what you're talking about. And you'll notice that's for a total of 8 points, so that's a big part of it. And because they come from research, they'll each need to have a citation. Finally, we'll need a concluding sentence for that paragraph that sort of wraps up everything nicely. So let's head back to the paper and see how this person did on the introductory paragraph. Leadership was key in helping the Patriots win the Revolutionary War. American heroes like Thomas Paine and Benjamin Franklin were crucial leaders that helped the colonies in different ways. So there is their introductory sentence. They're going to talk about leadership, and they gave us the two leaders that they're going to talk about in their paper. That's a good topic sentence. Although Franklin was old and had done more than enough to help his country, he continued to help America gain its independence until the day he died. An article on Franklin talks about how he took direct steps to secure foreign aid when he and Thomas Jefferson sailed for France in September 1776. So this person gave us a quote. This quote came from an article about Benjamin Franklin on page 121. There's their research, there's their citation, so far so good. Thomas Paine was another important leader because he wrote about the causes of the Revolution and served as a clerk in the Pennsylvania Assembly where he participated in the passing of new laws, including one that proposed the end of slavery. So we're going to go ahead and assume that this is a paraphrase from research. And how do we know that it's a paraphrase from research? Because they've given us a citation. That's where they got that information. Paine never served as a soldier in the army, but he spent many of his days on the battlefield writing motivational pamphlets that rallied soldiers to keep fighting. So there's their explanation sentence, their second sentence about Thomas Paine. If you'll remember the rubric, they're missing one thing. They don't have a concluding sentence. There's nothing really here to wrap it up and remind us of what that thesis says. So let's go back to the rubric and assign points. You'll remember they had a good topic sentence that introduced Ben Franklin and Thomas Paine and talked about their leadership. The first example was great. They gave us a quote that came from research and a citation, 4 out of 4. Their second example was great. It was a paraphrase that came from research and they gave us a citation. However, they were lacking a concluding sentence. Nothing to wrap it up for us, so we're going to take a point off. Now remember, if this were a self-evaluation, at this point you would go back to your first paragraph and add a concluding sentence so that you don't miss that point. If it's a self-evaluation, you have to go back and fix your mistakes until you get a 100%. Let's take a look at the second body paragraph. This is going to be about motivation. The items on the rubric are the exact same as the first. We need a topic sentence, 2 examples, and a concluding sentence. Let's head back to the paper and see how Walter did. During the early stages of revolution, motivation was lacking among the patriots, hindering their effort to win the war. Here's our topic sentence. It's all about motivation. This person did a good job. The soldiers knew the geography of the land and how they could use it to their advantage. This was a clear disadvantage for the British, so here's their first example. They knew the lay of the land where the fighting had to be done better than the British did, and they were used to the rough living conditions which war brought in its train. Here's their citation. There's a quote from research. The Redcoats could not navigate as well and were ill prepared for harsh weather, unlike the Patriots. The land advantage, combined with the strong opinions of other supporters, were the motivation needed to conquer the British. So you'll notice this person's missing their second example. They only have the first example about how the Patriots knew the lay of the land. They do kind of have a wrapping up sentence where they talked about motivation to conquer the British. So let's head back to the rubric and assign points. We said that they had a great topic sentence that introduced the idea of motivation. Their first example came from research and had a good citation. We'll give it a 4 out of 4. However, they were missing their whole second example. Their whole second example was completely missing. You'll notice that's a 0 out of 4 points. So that's a big error, right? This person should definitely go back, look for another example from research and add it so we don't miss the whole 4 points. And we'll go ahead and give them a point for wrapping that up. So we're going to skip over the third paragraph just for time's sake. You would do it exactly like the first. Let's skip down here to paragraph 5, their concluding paragraph. We want to restate the thesis in a new way. And finally, make us smarter. What's your so what, right? So let's head back and see if this person did that. Motivated leaders, the encouragement from supportive citizens who supported the war, combined with a variety of tools, were key to the Continental Army's success. So here's the restatement of their thesis. They said the Continental Army won the war, and how did they do it? Motivated leaders, encouragement from supportive citizens, and a variety of tools or resources. So this person did an excellent job of rewording their thesis. They said the same thing, but they used different words. Let's see if they have the so what, if they made us smarter. One should never doubt the underdog in any situation because no one can know what they will bring to the table. In this instance, the Patriots were poor, had no training, and were very weak, while the British were rich, strong, and highly trained. With help from other countries and inspiring leaders, the United States declared independence from Britain and started a new era of freedom. So yeah, this did teach me something. There was a lesson here, right? It said, never count out the underdog. If you've got these 3 things, maybe you can win a war too, right? That was their message. That's their so what. So this person did a good job of doing that. Let's go ahead and give them their points on the rubric. They restated the thesis in a new way. And they made us smarter. They had a so what. The last thing in your rubric is you're going to want to look at the layout. Make sure you have all of these things. Make sure that your grammar is correct, your mechanics, your spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. Here's how we're going to proofread. Let's go to the introductory paragraph, and we're going to proofread for spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. All right, let's take a look at the very first sentence. Some people know what it's like to be in a war. The very first sentence. I hope this caught your eye. Right here, the word it's. We actually need an apostrophe here, remember? We want it is. We want the contraction and not the possessive pronoun. This is something spell check isn't gonna catch. So use your brain instead of spell check. There's either a punctuation error or a spelling error, right? Also, let's take a look at their capitalization. It's great that they capitalized American, but do we really need to capitalize the T in 13, the B in battling, or the M in money, the C in conditions? Not really, right? Yeah, those are nouns and they're important words, but they're not proper nouns and they should only get a lowercase letter. I hope you caught this too. George Washington. We have a spelling error, right? Maybe spell check might not have caught this. Use your eyes, use your brain, and make sure you catch these things. So let's head back to the rubric. So we might need to take off some points for spelling, punctuation, and capitalization, right? However, you know that if you take a point off, you have to go back to your essay and fix it. That's the lesson I really want you guys to learn here. When you're doing a self-evaluation and your teacher gives you the rubric ahead of time, use it. This is how your teacher is going to grade you, so this is how you should grade you. If you find any reason at all to take off a point, go back and fix it so that your teacher can't find a reason to take off a point. Good luck, guys.